Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Well, guys, I want to open today talking about the video that I did yesterday. By and large, I read articles here. I read articles and then I comment on the article. The events of September in 2001 are extremely anomalous in that there's a lot of things that don't add up. The article I read yesterday was meant to highlight the way that the New York Times likes to obfuscate history and change it to fit whatever they want. And in the article, it talked about extremists that flew planes into the World Trade Centers. There are so many things about that event that are anomalous, and basically it would take an entire video to go over all of them because there's a lot of theories, there's a lot of evidence, and I wasn't trying to make a video exposing the truth about that because I did that once before already. And I'm covering breaking news here. So I'm going to read an article from Joseph Farrell on Giza Death Star. And it goes over several of those anomalous instances. And I hope that everyone understands that I wasn't trying to steer people towards the mainstream media narrative. It was really just about the hypocrisy of the New York Times in that article. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article from Joseph Farrell on Giza Death Star. It's called, Well, Now It's Official, Wall Street Journal Acknowledges 9/11. Introducing Raid Shadow Legends. The game is already a mega hit, a phenomena, a blockbuster. Well, you get me. You can get real, dark, epic, and awesome. Raid Shadow Legends will take you to a world of fantasy and realism you've never seen. For those who don't know, Raid Shadow Legends is a brand new collection RPG game that is taking the mobile gaming landscape by storm. More than 10 million players have already downloaded the game in less than 6 months. My favorite champion is Kale. I've gotten him up to a level 3. He's got awesome artifacts, super skills, and he can do a lot of damage. So go ahead and download Raid Shadow Legends. It's totally free. It's got almost 200,000 perfect reviews in the Google Play Store, and it's available on both Apple and Android. The game is growing super fast, and check out this cool roadmap they've published. They have huge updates planned for over 6 months. That means an infinite amount of content for you to enjoy, and you'll never get bored. They've got new factions coming up, a tag team arena feature, and even a new clan boss that you will be able to fight with your clanmates. Go to the description of this video, click on the special link, and you will get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your journey. All right, so it starts out here. For those of you who've been following the long 9/11 Truth Movement saga and the various scenarios that have made the rounds since then, inside job, controlled demolitions, nanothermite, directed energy weapons, or even my favorite in the really far out category, mini nukes. And in this case, folks, mini in some circles denotes a mere 150 kilotons, an order of magnitude greater than the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs. Then one of the things you'll have noted along the way were the phone call anomalies. One of those anomalies was the fact that then, apparently, cell phone calls were not possible at altitudes of greater than 10,000 feet, yet apparently some of those calls were made at altitudes exceeding that. No, never mind, nothing to see here, just another crazy theory. Move along. Now, ordinarily, I've avoided commenting very much on 9/11 simply for the reason of all the above-mentioned noise surrounding the subject, though I still retain my conviction that rather than an op within an op, or give it the other more popular characterization of an inside job, this has certain aspects that appear to present the idea of an op within an op within an op. Very, very true. That's what I feel. But in any case, there are still those disturbing phone calls. Well, now it's official, or at least being seriously entertained by some seriously minded people whose feet are on the ground and whose eyes are firmly on the balance sheets. That's the Wall Street Journal. Now, in addition to the Wall Street Journal noting that the whole scenario of jet fuel burning concrete and steel-reinforced load-bearing columns in the center of the World Trade Center and a pancake model of near free-fall collapse, a feat that defies any ordinary physics I've ever learned, is now being mentioned in the prestigious newspaper. There are these rather interesting summations of the phone call problem. The 9/11 consensus panel now offers 4 evidence-based points about the alleged phone calls from the 9/11 flights. The famous Let's Roll drama of the passenger revolt on United Airlines 93 was relayed by passenger Todd Beamer's 13-minute unrecorded seat-back call to GTE telephone supervisor Lisa Jefferson, who reported Beamer as strangely tranquil, declining to speak to his wife. Eerily, Beamer's line remained open for 15 minutes after the crash. How would that happen? Oddly, the Verizon Wireless record shows that 19 calls were made from Beamer's phone long after the crash of United Airlines 93. How could that possibly happen, too? Initial media reports and FBI interviews detailed more than a dozen cell phone calls from the planes at high elevation. Yet in 2001, a telephone spokesperson stated that the sustained mobile calls were not possible above 10,000 feet. During the 2006 Moussaoui trial, the FBI, under oath, reduced the number of cell phone calls to 2 calls made from 5,000 feet and presented evidence of only 1, not 2, unconnected calls from Barbara Olson lasting 0 seconds. In another twist, 2 other women reported that caller IDs showed their husbands' cell phone numbers on their answering machines, which, while lasting several minutes, had been made from elevations of 25,000 and 35,000 feet. That's impossible. Phone calls from people that were, according to the official scenario, already dead? For the Wall Street Journal to mention these things is sort of to point out the obvious, serious problems in the official scenario that are now being noticed by serious people, which raises as many questions as it answers, the most important of which is why now? The above-noted discrepancies have been circulating among various researchers of the whole 9/11 official scenario, with its Warren Commission version, with its magic airplane fuel that can magically remove the load-bearing columns of 2 steel and concrete cantilevered buildings and dustify over 500,000 tons of building each for many, many years now. Why now? The phone call discrepancies were some of the earliest anomalies reported, so again, why were they bringing it up now? I suspect the reason lies in the fact that there is some deep linkage or dot connecting being done now by most people. With the IRS NSA revelations, many are drawing the conclusion that there is some rogue element in the U.S. government. Eisenhower warned us of it, and even Nikita Khrushchev warned us of it. Suppose, for example, all that spying, data mining, began before 9/11. Wouldn't it be interesting to know what the phone records would then show? But what they show now is serious enough. There are manifold and serious problems with the bill of goods the Bush administration sold to the American people and to the world. Finally, someone in the mainstream is beginning to notice. Now watch for the documentaries to appear, subtly favoring the official scenario. Add magic airplane fuel to magic bullets. While you're adding those 2 things, never forget that domestic state-sponsored terrorism has been part of the oligarchical playbook since the Venetian Republic. Can you say Gladio? He's talking about Operation Gladio, and I believe that many people here are already aware of that. Operation Gladio was kind of a stay-behind military force, a spy military that would stay behind in countries that the United States was supposed to not be in, and if they needed them to, they would go in and they would cause some trouble. They would do an operation. One of the things that I would mention that people should check out would be Black 9/11. It's a book about how this event was an occult ritual. So I mentioned yesterday that this was a sacred and holy day. I was hinting at that. Sacred to the people who lost the lives of their loved ones, and holy for the elite cabal that used it as an event to, I guess, gain power. I think that that's what's happened. I think that it was a multi-pronged event. Many different things happened on that day 18 years ago. I know that there was all of that money that was lost, quote-unquote lost, at the Pentagon. I posted some pictures yesterday showing unreleased until very recently pictures of the Pentagon, and it shows no plane. I think that there's a lot of people who believe that there might not have been planes at all in New York City. I tend to believe that they were actually remote controlled by people in the deep state. I think that the cabal definitely told our military to stand down. I know that there is another video by a man named Alien Scientist here, which puts together a lot of different things. The Bush family, Marvin Bush, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, all these people had parts to play on that day. And if George W. Bush hadn't won, then I don't know that this event would have taken place. I think that his election was key in being able to pull this off on the way that they did. One thing that I will say is that I think I take it for granted that not everyone watching remembers every single video that I did. One of the first videos that I did was going over many of these anomalies having to do with this event. So I think about it, and I think about the fact that I made that video and everything that I said in relation to my beliefs and what happened and what might not have happened. And then I make a video about an article talking about one specific thing, and I imagine that people realize what I am trying to do. And that is my fault. That's my fault for not realizing that many people are probably watching the videos that I make for the first time, and they don't know about previous content that I've put together, and you certainly don't know exactly what's going on in my head. But I hope that that is clear now by the things that I've said in this video, and I promise that in the future I will do my best to give better commentary if there is an aspect to an article that could be controversial, because the last thing I want is for people thinking that I am trying to steer people towards something that isn't true. So I'm doing this a little bit differently. I just want everybody to know that when it comes down to it, I don't know exactly what happened. I only have the ability to put forth pieces of evidence and then say, you guys go ahead and make up your mind. Obviously, most people do not believe the actual story. I do, however, believe that the Saudi Arabian government had patsies, more than likely, that were here and were involved in some fashion, because those guys were pictured. There is evidence showing that they were in flight school. But who knows? Perhaps that was all made up as well. When it comes down to it, all I know is that 3,000 people died. I wanted to honor them, and I thought that it was important that the New York Times wanted to whitewash out the reason that there were people in those planes. I think that you've got a lot of different factors going on in a lot of different ways. Many different people were involved. And that includes extremists from multiple religions. However, that was not in the article yesterday. But I just wanted to make that clarification, and I hope that people understand what I am trying to do here. Mostly, though, I am just presenting articles that are interesting to me on a daily basis. So with that, we're going to get into the next one. All right, breaking news from SarahACarter.com. The U.S. Attorney has recommended moving forward with charges against Andrew McCabe, you guys. This is it. It is happening. Andrew McCabe will be the gateway to many other people. Fox News is reporting that a source close to former Deputy Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe's legal team, said they received an email from the Department of Justice which said the department rejected your appeal of the United States Attorney's Office decision in this matter. Any further inquiries should be directed to the United States Attorney's Office. U.S. Attorney Jesse Liu has recommended moving forward with charges against Andrew McCabe, Fox News has learned, as the Justice Department rejects a last-ditch appeal from the former top FBI official. Should the federal prosecutors indict McCabe, he would be the first senior law enforcement official involved in the origins of the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. McCabe served as the acting FBI director immediately following the firing of James Comey, and has said he personally authorized the counterintelligence and criminal investigation of President Trump in May of 2017. Now, this was over fears that he too would be removed. This week, SarahACarter.com published a story revealing that the DOJ is also seeking former McCabe's text messages. According to government sources, those text messages will play a significant role in understanding the FBI's probe into both President Donald Trump's campaign and the Bureau's handling of Hillary Clinton's use of a private server to send government emails. Lawmakers unsuccessfully attempted to get the text messages during the litany of congressional investigations. Ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee Devin Nunes told this reporter Monday that his committee was stonewalled by the FBI when they attempted to retrieve McCabe's communications. The House Intelligence Committee tried to get the McCabe texts in the last Congress, but we were stonewalled, said Nunes. This is the kind of issue that really needs more transparency. There's been too much unnecessary secrecy surrounding the entire Russia investigation. The American people deserve to know exactly what happened. All right, guys. This is happening right now. Andrew McCabe is looking at being indicted by the U.S. Attorney. The U.S. Attorney is now recommending charges after the OIG also recommended charges. Think about it like this. Andrew McCabe is going to have the opportunity to roll over on a lot of other people, most notably James Comey. If Andrew McCabe says that James Comey directed him to do any of these things that he is being charged with, or being accused of, then Andrew McCabe is probably going to get a deal for doing that. Also, if it's Andrew McCabe giving people information, giving the U.S. Attorney information on people, then the DOJ will not look like they're just going after Comey and others involved in this case. So I do believe that finally we are going to start seeing the people that we've been waiting to be indicted begin to be indicted. And I think that everyone should feel very, very good about the fact that the U.S. Attorney is now recommending charges for Andrew McCabe. He does not want to go to prison. He is going to roll over. Think about the number of people that Andrew McCabe has information on. The other people involved in the mid-year exam, the Russia collusion investigation, the framing of General Flynn. The list goes on. This is such good news, and I hope that everyone appreciates it as much as I do. All right, guys, and next we have more follow-up on the Michael Flynn case. His attorneys have dropped a big bombshell on the deep state, suggesting that clown operatives were spying on General Flynn back in 2015. General Michael Flynn's attorneys demanded documents from 7 meetings connected to the Russian investigation and accused the DOJ of concealing evidence from Flynn and suppressing evidence of Flynn's innocence. The Gateway Pundit reported back in January on the U.S. intelligence hiding exculpatory evidence from Flynn, and attorney Sidney Powell also revealed in court disclosures that Clowns in America asset Joseph Mifsud was spying on Flynn back in 2015. Powell is seeking evidence of Joseph Mifsud's presence and involvement engaging or reporting on Mr. Flynn and Mifsud's presence at the Russia Today dinner in Moscow back in December of 2015. It was already known that the deep state spy Stefan Halper set up Flynn by placing the general next to Putin at the RT dinner. As we reported earlier, the attorney for Michael Flynn confirmed he was Western intelligence and not a Russian asset, as it was claimed by the hacks on the Mueller team in their report. According to Mr. Mifsud's attorneys, their client was working for the Clowns in America and was not a Russian operative, as reported by the Mueller witch hunt team of liars. Mueller and his band of angry Democrats lied in their final report on operative Joseph Mifsud. Mifsud was not a Russian operative, as the Mueller report claimed he was. Mifsud worked for Western intelligence, and now his attorneys have confirmed it. Guys, this is big news right here. Mifsud's own attorneys denying the fact that he is a Russian operative, stating conclusively that he was an asset for the Clowns in America. Now, learning that Mifsud was at that same dinner for RT as General Flynn and Vladimir Putin, and to know that he was there spying on General Flynn, it means that they have been working on this contingency plan for quite some time. I think that they were aware of the role that Michael Flynn was going to play in President Trump's administration. They were aware of the information that Flynn had on the former administration, because it was clear early on that Obama and his cronies wanted to get rid of Flynn. They knew what was going to happen if he came into government. They have everything. And General Flynn has been playing a role this entire time, just waiting for this information to come out. What were we told? How do you bring information in? Discovery, discovery, discovery. And that is exactly what's happened with the employers of Joseph Mifsud. It has been discovered in court. His own lawyers admitting that he was a clown in America asset. This is big news, and like I said yesterday, I think that General Flynn's case is going to be dismissed with prejudice, and the DOJ is going to end up having to pay him back every penny that he spent defending himself against this clearly obvious witch hunt that was designed to destroy him and designed to destroy the presidency of Donald J. Trump. All right, and since we are on the subject, I figured I might as well do another article having to do with anomalies related to the event in September, all those years ago, 18 years ago. There was recently a study by the University of Alaska in Fairbanks on WTC 7, and this building was the one that was basically at the feet of the two towers, and it's the one that was shown in an interview with the owner of the buildings, and he said he gave the order to pull it. And, you know, some people see that and they don't believe that that could possibly happen. But the official story was that fires collapsed the building. Well, a structural reevaluation of the collapse of that building is a draft report based on a 4-year study conducted at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Now, this is by lead researcher Dr. J. Leroy Hulsey. He is a professor of civil engineering at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, along with research assistants, multiple of them. And the principal findings are listed here in this excerpt from that study. It says the objective of the study was threefold: to examine the structural response of a WTC-7 to fire loads that might have occurred on that date. They also wanted to rule out scenarios that could not have caused the observed collapse. And then finally, identify types of failures in their locations that may have caused that total collapse to occur as observed. Now, the UAF research team utilized 3 approaches to examining the structural response of WTC-7 to the conditions that may have occurred on that date. First, we simulated the local structural response to fire loading that may have occurred below floor 13, where most of the fires in WTC-7 are reported to have occurred. Second, we supplemented our own simulation by examining the collapse initiation hypothesis developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Third, we simulated a number of scenarios within the overall structural system in order to determine what types of local failures and their locations may have caused the total collapse to occur as observed. The principal conclusion of our study is that fire did not cause the collapse of that building, contrary to the conclusions of NIST and private engineering firms that have studied the collapse. The secondary conclusion of our study is that the collapse of this building was a global failure involving the near simultaneous failure of every column in the building. How in the world is every structural column in that building going to fail at the exact same time? Well, when you look back at that video of the gentleman saying, pull it, I said to pull it. Pulling it is the word that they use when they're talking about a controlled demolition. This sounds like it must have been exactly that. Now, the research team is currently organizing and uploading all of its data into a format that can be readily downloaded and used, and we expect to post that data somewhere between September 16th and 30th, 2019. And they are going to have a public commentary. Now, they are having reviewers external to University of Alaska Fairbanks from architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, so that they can make sure that their findings are valid. And I think that this is yet another example of how the official narrative was completely incorrect. It was just a story. I think that this is an excellent example of how the official narrative was just a story, just something they told us. We are one step closer to figuring out what actually occurred. Now, this is just in one building. There's still the other two that we don't really know what happened. Like I said, there's a lot of theories. But as of right now, they are just theories. So until we get a definitive statement from the government, the official narrative is going to remain just that, the official narrative. Now, I was on True Reporting last night, and Thomas and I were talking about this frustration that the administration hasn't come out and said something. President Trump, I believe that this is an issue very close to his heart. I think that he is working on bringing the truth out about this. However, we're not supposed to broadcast our moves. We're not supposed to tell the bad guys exactly what we're doing. And if President Trump is planning on having some information about this revealed by broadcasting that ahead of time, I think that he would be putting himself in a situation where the official narrative would never be able to be squashed. The truth would never come out. So just keep that in mind if you guys are frustrated about the fact that President Trump hasn't come out and said anything about this yet. I'm hoping that some point in the future he will. Now, our next article is about American hero Tom Homan. He was testifying yesterday before the House Oversight, Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Committee, and he and Debbie Wasserman Schultz went at it. He said, "You want to go toe-to-toe? I'm here." Now, during the committee hearing, former DNC chair Wasserman Schultz took time out to call Homan a liar and a racist. And that's when Homan fired back at the controversial Democrat who rigged the Democrat Party primary back in 2016. "I've forgotten more about this issue than you'll ever know. Everything I've said here is accurate. If you want to go toe-to-toe, I'm here." This was an excellent rebuttal from the former ICE director. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this clip.
Mr. Chairman, before I ask my questions, since it has not yet been done, I think it's important to really make sure that the jingoistic, bigoted testimony of Mr. Homan is called out as nearly completely untrue, as being an outrage, and as a former official directing the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, he should know better. So
Mr.
making
Chairman,
sure that I am...
Mr. Chairman.
No, this is my 5 minutes.
Well, what did I say was inaccurate?
Excuse me.
Okay,
I'm not asking a question.
Okay,
or-
the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes. She's made her point, and I will try to resolve any other issues at the end of her questioning. Okay.
Thank you. So I just think it's important that it's not accepted as accurate testimony. Okay.
Mr. Homan, is there a crisis on the border?
Of course.
And has there been a crisis there for a long time?
Yes.
I just want to get, because your testimony was at the broader issue, and this is critically important, but we also have a broader issue there. We got unbelievable numbers we've seen on the border with apprehensions and everything else, right?
Absolutely. If I can respond to the earlier remark from Wasserman Schultz, I forgot more about this issue than you ever know. So if you say my testimony is inaccurate, it's wrong. Everything I said here is accurate. Bottom line, if you want to go toe-to-toe, I'm here. I'm here in my own time to speak to the American people about what's false and what's fact.
I'm sure happy to go toe-to-toe with you, Mr. Homan.
Well,
happy
I'm
to do
here.
that any day.
But you got to let me respond to your question rather than
I didn't
dropping a
ask you
bomb and running away.
It was my time.
So
and I
there's a
wasn't asking
crisis
you a
on the
question.
board.
Absolutely incredible, Debbie. The way the Democrats act, trying to incite this hatred between races, between segments of the population, it's no surprise, and I really want to credit Tom Homan for his careful and measured statements yesterday when responding to her. It is completely unfair to call his statements jingoistic. There's a buzzword that the Democrats like to use. It's just an absolutely disgusting display, and I think that Debbie Wasserman Schultz really ought to know better at this point. But unfortunately, this is just the way that they act. This is the kind of things that you can expect from the Democrats, and I think it's just going to get worse going forward. And finally, the House Judiciary Committee passes a resolution making an impeachment likely for President Trump. The House Judiciary Committee took its next step in potential impeachment proceedings against President Donald Trump on a party line vote Thursday. The committee vote set parameters for a potential impeachment inquiry, but did not mention the president specifically. Still, the vote will be widely seen as an effort by Democrats to intensify their efforts to impeach President Donald Trump over obstruction of justice that they claim was outlined in special counsel Robert Mueller's report. The vote passed 24-17, with all Democrats voting in favor and all Republicans voting against it. The committee's ranking member, Doug Collins of Georgia, called the resolution fantasy land during debate ahead of the vote. The committee's chairman, Jerry Nadler of New York, stated last month that formal impeachment hearings were underway, although House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer have continued to hold support for impeachment hearings. This is just absolutely insane. The fact that they're trying to impeach President Trump when he's done absolutely nothing. Doug Collins is right. They're living in fantasy land. The Democrats are seriously a bunch of conspiracy theorists. All they want to do is get rid of Trump because they are annoyed that he won. He should not have won as far as they're concerned. He's not part of their elite establishment, and his victory and presidency represents a kind of last hurrah for the Democrats and for the cabal. Now, I've heard a couple of people recently say that I'm working on this left-right paradigm. Well, we've only got two parties in power. We've got the Democrats and the Republicans. President Trump is a Republican in name, if not in spirit. I honestly think that President Trump should start his own party because I think that a lot of Republicans would move over and support him just because we support the job that he's doing. But right now, it's true. We've got the left and the right. That's what they're called, and that's who is in power right now in America. Doug Collins represents the good of the right, and I don't think that there is any good on the left. If I had to pick somebody, I might say Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard seems like a pretty level-headed person to me. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all that I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.